guys, and welcome back to Art a la Carte. Last night I was really inspired to create a bunch of new tutorials for you guys. So I actually recorded 3 tutorials last night, but then I couldn't decide which one to show you guys. So I took a picture of them and posted on my Instagram and had you guys vote. And it was almost straight across the board. Like, I had to go through and like count. It was hard. But the one that eked ahead just slightly was the video on how to draw with a ballpoint pen. I've been drawing pictures since I was a kid and have been seriously drawing for the last 8 years. And so I have collected quite the collection of tools and pens and papers and blah. So for every art project I want to do, there is a certain tool that I use. If I want to do a picture that has, ink with colored pencils, I will use a certain kind of pen that works well with colored pencils and the paper that works well with colored pencils. And then if I want to do it with markers, totally different type of pen, totally different type of paper. And then don't even get me started on what I use when I watercolor. There's supplies and tools for everything. But seriously, how many people actually have all the supplies right now? So I want to do a video that shows just what a normal person has, which usually is a ballpoint pen and some computer paper, and that you can still create some really good art. So let's get started. So yeah, this is just a regular pen. It's a Bic round stick grip, and it has blue ink, kind of light blue ink there. So yeah, a lot of times as an artist you might not have the best kind of art supplies and you want to doodle, and so I'm going to show you some tips on how I doodle and draw with just a regular ink pen. Nothing special, definitely not an artist brand or anything, just for writing. No matter what type of ink pen you use, the first thing you're going to want to notice is the very point of your pen. And you're going to see that there's a little tiny metal ball right in there. That's what allows ink to flow through. So as you move your pen across the paper, it's actually rolling that ball, and that ink is flowing in and getting the back side of that ball covered with ink. And so then when it rolls around, it comes out the top. So knowing how your pen works is kind of important. Also, sometimes the ink can get kind of globby on here, and mine's not too globby because I just cleaned it. But you can see that it'll get like globby all around there. So you just keep a tissue and kind of wipe that and keep that clean. You don't want a really big glob of paint to blop on your paper. You want to keep that nice and clean. Now when getting started with your ink drawing, first get to know your ink pen, make some marks on it. And of course you're going to get some interesting marks with a really hard pressure, but notice what happens to your pen when you use soft pressure. So you have this nice soft pressure and you're going to get these nice delicate lines. Now again, if you get any globs of ink on there, just take a little tissue and wipe that off so you have a nice clean pen nib to work with. And just get used to the pressure of your pen. If all you're getting is this one kind of line, then you are pushing just too hard. Just hold it light and just kind of let the pen do some work. Once you've gotten to know your pen, you can move on to actually drawing something. So let's see here. I'm going to do kind of a sketchy picture, but I'm going to draw this kind of face right here. And you'll see I'm using a really soft pressure, and I'm kind of going around and making these small little lines. One thing with pens is you can't erase, so if you don't want to put guidelines in there and have them show through, you're going to have to draw carefully. If you watch any of my tutorials, you probably know that I am pretty much a stickler for having guidelines, but that doesn't mean that I can't draw without them. It just tends to be a little bit more challenging to draw without guidelines. So you'll see that I'm not just running this around here. I'm actually just kind of flicking my pencil around until I get the line that I want. Once I have a line that I really like, you might see me go back over that line and darken or tighten it up a little bit, or add a little bit of a thickness to that line to make it stand out a little bit more. I don't want all of my lines to be the same thickness. Here's a really thick line, and as you see it coming down here, it gets a little bit thinner. Or like here with this cheek, I might pull the cheek out a little bit and over here, but I want to thin it out in other places as well. So here I have my face pretty much drawn in here. This isn't a tutorial by any means on how to draw a face. I have actually tutorials on that. But I just decided to draw a face to show you how this works. Now there are some fun effects that you can get with a pen, and one of them is actually shading. Yes, you can actually shade with the pen. And what we're going to do is a technique called hatching and cross-hatching. Back on our scrap piece of paper, hatching is just taking and making a series of lines in a single direction. The farther apart they are, the lighter the shading is going to be, and the closer they are together, the darker the shading is going to be. Also, you can do cross-hatching, which is simply taking the other line and going the opposite direction, making a little X's, little cross hatch. Using this technique here, you can use shading. So I want to add a little bit of shading underneath her neck, and the first thing I'm going to do is very lightly, I'm going to draw the shape of where I want the shading to be. And then I'm going to use my cross hatching and bring that down. So I have one set there, and then my cross hatching over top of that. So it gives a little technique of shading. So let's shade a little bit back here. I'll just use some hatching. I can put some shading over here. Now the direction that I pull the pencil is completely up to you, kind of how you want that shadow to flow. It's going to take, of course, practice like anything with art. I would suggest just getting a scratch piece of paper like I have here and just practice out your cross hatching. It was something that actually took me several years of playing around with before I finally went, oh, that's how it works. I understand it now. And I still don't fully understand it. I understand it enough to make it work for me, but you know, I will watch other artists using cross-hatching and going, oh, that's genius, I love how they do that. So don't think as an artist that, you know, once you learn something a little bit that, you know, that's all you have to learn. As an artist, we're always pushing to learn more, and that's why it's fun to kind of share with other artists and observe how other artists use different mediums and get different effects. Like here I want to pop this face out, so I'm going to put some shading in behind her. It's going to pop her face out. Just play around with the different effects that you can get from just one lines or two lines or cross hatching. And remember, the darker you want that shadow, the closer the lines you're going to get are, because you're only going to get as dark as that ink is. You can't, you know, like this isn't a black ink, so I'm not going to get black. So the best way to control that is by controlling how much white of the paper is showing through by this cross-hatching. Some techniques done with just a regular ballpoint pen. Totally, you can draw with that and make some pretty fun little art. Yay! And I love seeing your artwork. So if you create some fun artwork using a ballpoint pen, make sure to take a picture of it and send it to me. I would love to see it. You can always leave a comment below or follow me on Instagram, and every once in a while I'll put up a help me choose video and you can help give your opinion. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me, and until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye!